talk to your customers, talk to your shoppers, ask them, what was their browsing experience? What caused them? And obviously it's a lot easier said than done, because again, then now you get back to like the surveys of like, hey, what caused you to buy? But also just like getting to know your target demographic. I find that the more successful brands, when I meet with them, the people that are in positions of power are either in tune or are the target demographic.
Hello and welcome to Crackin Commerce, where we crack down on everything that makes e-commerce complex and help e-commerce teams keep the sanity in check. Crackin Commerce is hosted by Folio3 e-commerce, an end-to-end technology partner for B2B and DTC brands. We also have an exclusive invite-only Slack community for people managing e-commerce operations, as well as a select group of vendors and partners. If you want to join, submit your request at ecommerce.folio3.com/community. Today, we are joined by Kevin Hanna from Shop with Friends, and we are cracking down on innovations in e-commerce and lack thereof, as well as social commerce and how technologies that exist aren't making e-commerce any social. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I'm very excited about this conversation because it's one of those topics that I can personally relate to as a shopper. Not just as a shopper, but also as a business and technology consultant for merchants. So before we get into it, why don't you educate our listeners about your journey, what you've been doing, and how you came up with this idea and how you built the solution?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Kevin. I'm the founder of Shop with Friends. We're a social shopping tool that lets shoppers get real-time input from their friends while they're browsing online, just to help increase conversion rates and word-of-mouth traffic for e-commerce brands. Our origin story is it wasn't that we actually had like marketers or e-commerce brands coming to us and saying, hey, can you build us this like polling solution or this solution that allows people to just socially interact with their friends. We actually built a consumer app that lets people share polls within their group chats. With zero marketing, we've gained 4 million users on that, active users on that platform. We're gaining like 250,000 new users every single month, and we see that they're talking about what to buy. Like a large majority of these polls are actually people copy and pasting links from e-commerce brands. So we basically said, okay, wait a minute, there's this behavior here that's really interesting. And the same way that our consumer app was able to grow via word of mouth, we just wanted to bring that to e-commerce brands. So we started piloting it with some e-commerce brands about 3 years ago. And we just saw massive success in terms of driving traffic and conversion rates for these brands. So about 2 years ago, we launched on the Shopify ecosystem. And since then, it's just been, we haven't looked back. We've just been onboarding brands like crazy.
Okay, sounds great. So obviously the journey to finding that problem in the market wasn't as, simple and straightforward. Obviously, since you built some other app, and through that app, you found that there is this need in the market, and obviously you must have validated the need. So can you walk us through your challenges that you faced when you were validating the need, and also your challenges of building the solution? Because I don't think there are many competitors out there that are doing anything similar. So coming up with something new. So this is called like real innovation. Yeah. So building this solution and coming up with a solution to streamline the whole process of how you take screenshots and share it with friends, and then the whole thing integrates smoothly with an e-commerce system. So what were your challenges regarding that?
The challenges in the early days was just how do you describe this thing that, like you said, we're sort of a category creator. There wasn't, there wasn't anything out there that sort of served this purpose. Once people see it, visually, it makes sense right away. Like, oh, like, of course, people want to get input from their friends in their group chats. But in the early days, that was definitely a struggle. Just kind of like describing it or convincing, these marketing professionals and e-commerce specialists that, hey, this behavior is happening and our product sort of like fits that need. I think that was a challenge early on, because it's like, when people think of polls, they think of like surveys and like post-purchase polls. They don't think of what we were seeing in the market, which was like polls everyday polls, people asking each other kind of like, hey, what do you think of this clothing? Hey, what time works for you? Where should we go for dinner? Like those are the polls that we lived in. And so I think that was like a challenge early on. And then, just the challenge that any sort of like software provider has whenever they're going to market on a new platform or to a new ecosystem is the Shopify App Store is kind of inundated with lots of different options, and kind of how do you stand out and like just differentiate yourself from the different options out there.
What was your adoption rate from merchants? So when I think about this kind of innovation, and as a shopper myself, this is how I shop. I've been shopping like that for forever. So
Yeah.
and when I'm when I'm shopping on different websites, I'm often left feeling like there should be this little feature that could improve my experience, but I don't think many merchants are thinking along those lines, and they are innovating. They are thinking about innovation and improving their customer experience above and beyond what other competitors are doing. So it's just the same experience. I just feel every e-commerce store out there is just giving the same experience these days. So I'm curious to know what has been your response and the adoption rate you have seen from merchants, and do you think they are like lagging behind when it comes to innovation and customer experience?
I do think that there's a bit of a laggard mentality in e-commerce. It takes a while. Everyone wants to see, like e-commerce marketing. You have like giant tools out there that kind of help with all the sort of like email marketing. I think that it took a while. Once that got adopted, now it's like everyone's doing it because they see the results and they understand the benefits. And I think for us, just being able to what really kind of changed it for us is building up like a war chest of case studies, like showing that, hey, we've helped brands in different industries, especially like fashion, apparel, like luxury goods, things like that, really make a difference in their overall bottom line, their revenue, obviously conversion rates, traffic, things that e-commerce merchants care about. I think that's how we've been able to kind of get some of the larger brands, more established brands to adopt it, is them seeing other brands that are similar to them and the results they've been able to drive for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I do understand their challenges as well. Like when I'm saying they don't think holistically across the funnel. So, but sometimes it's not as simple to come up with that data, because everything these days is data driven. So marketers, nobody is buying a new idea unless it's backed by data. So in this case, for example, the customer journey isn't happening online. So it's happening offline. Like you're taking screenshots, you're sharing with friends. So it's all happening offline. So it's not something they could easily find on a heat map, on any analytic tools, for example. So it's not as simple, but it's also very important, and it's very crucial data that could help in improving the customer experience down the line. And this is what is going to drive innovation in e-commerce and help the industry grow. So what would be your advice for those merchants and for e-commerce teams, for e-commerce managers who are managing their stores, to find that data?
This is a great point. I mean, I think that for the most part, e-commerce brands should be data driven. You should use the data that is available to you to make informed decisions. There are limitations because it's just like the technology and like not everything is interconnected, probably for the betterment of the consumer. But when you're on like an app experience, they can actually tell when you're in an app and you take a screenshot. They can actually keep record of that. If you're in the LinkedIn app and you take a screenshot, they know you just took a screenshot because you're in an app. But there's limitations on if someone's browsing online, just on a website, you can't actually tell that someone's taking a screenshot. And I bet you if they actually had that, there wasn't a technical limitation, there'd be a lot more merchants that were saying, hey, what's going on here? People are taking screenshots of products and then they're either coming back and buying that product or they're not. And because there's just that limitation that you can't, my advice to them would be talk to your customers, talk to your shoppers, ask them, what was their browsing experience? What cause them. And obviously it's a lot easier said than done, because again, then now you get back to like the surveys of like, hey, what caused you to buy? But also just like getting to know your target demographic. I find that the more successful brands, when I meet with them, the people that are in positions of power are either in tune or are the target demographic. When I'm talking to a women's fashion brand, I'm meeting with the director of e-commerce, and it's a woman in her like mid to late 20s. It's like, you are the buyer, so you understand the behavior, and so they get it right away. They know that is a behavior that they are checking with their friends before they make a purchase, or even outside of that, any other type of activities that they may be doing that can influence the purchase that isn't going to show up in the data.
Yeah. This is like one foundational piece of advice for any business, to talk to your customers, find out about them, and be in tune with them. So this is a foundational piece of advice that's relevant to every business, regardless of anything.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So I'll just share my own experience. I was on Mac's website some time ago, and they have a cool feature about trying on their lipsticks. So I was trying on their lipsticks using the virtual try on, and then I was taking my screenshots of the lipstick on my lips, and of all, I was going through every product, trying on the lipstick, and then taking my screenshot and sharing it with my friends. So like, I mean, even the big brands, they're not so there is this lack of getting to know the customer. So they need to go out more, find out about their customers' behavior. If I'm doing it, maybe others are also doing it too.
Right. And that's a great solution, right? Is now that shopping is largely done online, I mean, more and more so, at least, than in person. I think obviously just like the benefits of having it there is just like how convenient it is for us to go online and just buy things. We have like all these different options at our fingertips, but you lose some things that I think technology can do. It can make a dent in actually bringing those things back. So like trying things on, like when you're in person, a big benefit is actually in Mac stores, they would see people trying on the lipstick. They always have testers. And so because they had that direct interaction with their customers, they were able to fill that need with technology. And so I'm surprised that they actually haven't even realized it. Like, hey, actually, when a group of people come into our store, they tend to buy more, and they tend to talk to each other and try things on. And they talk to each other, and they give each other advice, like, oh, that lipstick looks great on you. So you would think that feedback would come back to the people that are in positions of power on the e-commerce side. And I think it will. I think that it always takes innovation to catch up with what would actually benefit any brand, any company. And I think I won't be surprised in a year or less that pretty much every brand has like some sort of social feature baked into their online experience.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. When if you have a physical store, then there's a term thrown around in e-commerce a lot, phygital. So it sounds really bad to pronounce it, but like, why don't they, if they have a physical store, they're already gathering so much data out there. So the key is to get that data from the physical presence, and then trying to figure out how to make that merge in the online experience, because the human buying from physical store is the same as the one buying online. So obviously the behavior is the same. If someone is talking to their friends in their store, then they must be doing the same online. So there should be some, there should be a seamless connection. There should be a streamlined experience between the two. So
right, exactly. A feedback loop that goes back from the online team to the in-person team. This is how people are buying from us.
Yeah, so that could really improve e-commerce experiences everywhere.
Yeah, I agree.
So I've seen even technology providers that are building solutions for e-commerce merchants. So I've seen like most of these technology providers, they are just reinventing the wheel. So if I was talking to someone the other day who's building a new wish list app, and I'm like, what's new in your wish list app? There are already so many wish list apps out there. Then there was another who was who is trying to build a solution that could take over NetSuite. So they're trying to build a new ERP. So one
Right.
ERP already exists, and you're trying to build another one. So they're just trying to reinvent the wheel, make it better, maybe just put more money in marketing. And I think so. What would be your advice to those technology providers about building new solutions that really solve problems out there?
Um, I would say, and I can understand, from their perspective, they're saying, hey, there's wish lists out there that are successful. There's ERP. There's obviously a ton of money in ERP. So I can understand. I guess I'd also say that it's a lot more difficult to create your own completely new, category, and it's easier said than done. I think obviously, if I were to say the advice, like think of something new and creative. I'll probably get a lot of people that are just kind of shaking their head, because if we could all think of something new and creative, we'd all be building it and working on it. But I would say, obviously, to be able to understand these opportunities, that you have to be like close to the industry. Before I started this company, I was working at Deloitte. I was a digital marketing consultant for direct to consumer brands, helping them on their customer acquisition strategy. So I kind of like was close enough to it to understand like what are the core things that like e-commerce brands care about. And then I already told my origin story, and I kind of saw it. So honestly, I feel like I was just in the right place at the right time, seeing the trends, seeing what the shoppers were doing. And that's why I made a solution for it. And I think that obviously anytime you can be, opportunistic about marrying technology with the way that people actually shop, and you see a problem out there, maybe there's a problem that I don't see about wish lists that they could be better. And that's what someone's trying to solve. Or maybe on the ERP side, I wouldn't know enough about what those particular solution providers are coming up with. But if there's like a problem that you see it either on the consumer side or on the the merchant side, and you can solve it with a unique, fresh approach, then you'll be able to create your own category, and that's always really exciting.
Right. Okay, so let's pivot now to cracking down on social commerce. So this is where it gets more exciting. So social commerce is what we refer to TikTok shop, Facebook shop, and Instagram shop.
Yep.
So I don't know what's social in that. I mean, it's just e-commerce happening on a social media site. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. I think it's almost like this generation's like infomercials. It's like, okay, at the end of the day, we go to like social media platforms to scroll. That's not where we're talking to our friends and our family. I mean, we use social media to like keep up to date. I mean, that's kind of where social media started, like back in like, MySpace and the early days of Facebook. It's like, I want to know, it's like, what are my aunts and uncles up to? What are my acquaintances up to? And then definitely with TikTok and even with Instagram, I mean, it's basically, influencers putting out content just like our parents would watch, like cable television, and then an infomercial would come on, and they could be convinced to buy something. That's kind of how I view like TikTok shop and like social commerce. Is it's just it's meeting the shopper where they are.
Yeah.
We're not watching cable TV as much anymore. Now we're just scrolling TikTok and Instagram. And so anytime you have eyeballs, people are going to see dollar signs. And so I think that's where TikTok shop, I mean, and it makes sense, honestly. I think it makes sense to meet them where they are, but I don't think that it's social.
Yeah, true. I mean, I have been in situations where we are actually present, all of the group of friends, and they're all on social media. They're all scrolling through their phones. So even if they're buying something on their phones on TikTok or on Facebook, we are not interacting. Like there's no mechanism. Even if you are buying something on TikTok, there's no mechanism for you to interact with your friends while you're buying that. So even if there could be just some sort of some integration between the two things, like TikTok shop and how you interact. So they could bring in, they could make it more social.
So, there's definitely an opportunity for that. Yeah, basically they're just taking advantage of now of like influencers are sort of like the new celebrities, and then influencer marketing has taken off, and TikTok Shop just reduces a lot of friction between doing that. But then, yeah, when you just describe that, I mean, that's like almost antisocial to have a bunch of friends that are glued to their phones on
Yeah.
TikTok, and just it's almost like you might as well just be like reading the newspaper, like back in the day, and you're seeing different advertisements. Like there's it's not really a social activity
Yeah.
as much as it's kind of like kind of described as.
Yeah, true. So why do you think if we often say that shopping is inherently a social activity. So if we take a step back, why do you think that is, and what human behavior is driving that and making this social activity?
Yeah, I mean, like since the dawn of time, I feel like humans are emotional social creatures. We care about the opinions of the people that are close to us, and at the end of the day, when you're shopping, it's kind of like a status symbol. You want your friends to like what you wear, whether it's like a new watch or a dress or a T-shirt. Like you want your friends to think it's cool. So like when I was younger, before e-commerce was as popular as it is now, we would go to the mall together, and it was like a social activity. And why do you go with your friends? Because those are the people that you're hanging out with, and you're going to be wearing the clothes around. So those are the people that you want their opinion on. So it also just like reduces like buyer's remorse. Like if all I need is like one friend to say like, yeah, you should get that, for me to be like, okay, I made a good purchase, or if you buy something, or even after you buy something and your friend says like, or they see you the next time wearing that shirt or that dress, or like that looks great on you, it just like increases the confidence, and so I think it makes it's more fun. We care what our friends think. It increases the confidence, and it increases just like after we buy it, almost like our happiness with that product, because at the end of the day, we are social creatures, and we care what the people around us think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. So what should brands do to social element? What would be advice for brands to and e-commerce teams to which tools should they use, and what should they do to bring the social element into shopping?
Well, obviously, I have to plug Shop with Friends, because that's exactly why we built this offering. Is that you can tap into. We basically detect when someone is exhibiting behavior where it looks like they're looking at multiple similar items in a short period of time, and we prompt them to get input from their friends, and we basically let them share those products in real time, right in their group chats, where they're actually having conversations. They're not scrolling in group chats; they're actually talking to their friends. So that's what I would recommend. Is obviously just taking advantage of our tool. If there are more tools out there, or if there was like a category that was more established, I'd probably refer to that. But right now, since we're the only one, obviously I have to give a plug for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are very few tools out there. So I did a podcast with some other person for a different show, and they were building this tool called Most, and I think they were also struggling with the category creation and everything. So we're kind of doing something similar with uh, not similar, but to bring the social element back. And what they were doing is creating UGC content on like product pages. So if
Oh
you're scrolling on a product page, you can see if there is someone else who's using this product, and you can directly interact with that user through a messenger app. So it takes you to that app where you can directly interact with that user who has used this product before,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, you can.
That's
I
almost
think
like
you
the
can even.
evolution of reviews. It's almost like
Sorry.
the evolution. It's almost like the evolution of reviews. Like
Yeah.
we see reviews. I think that was before. Is you look at reviews, and you're like, oh, well, how trustworthy is
Yeah.
this review? Did
Yeah.
someone pay for this review? This is a stranger online. But by seeing like content that they've created with that product, I can see the benefit. Obviously, to the consumer, I would love to be able to talk to someone who put together a video that showed the product, but also to the merchant. Like just giving them. Allowing them to give people more confidence in these like reviews they have of their products.
Yeah, definitely. So I have gone through these experiences myself when I'm buying something online, and I have some, objections. So very few people are, thinking about objection handling when they are doing CRO. So
Right.
this is one of the key pieces of CRO, conversion rate optimization. And so I have these experiences where I have these objections in my mind about the product, and then I scour through the product page to find some information about it. There's nothing over there. So not even in the product description. Then I go through all the reviews. There's nothing over there. So there's definitely a need for that social element, so we can, find more about the product from our group of friends who maybe have used the product before. And shop with friends is definitely, it should be a staple for every e-commerce store. And obviously, in the categories it's more relevant in. So that
Yeah.
also brings up another question about, who do you think is the most, relevant demographic for this kind of, who shows this kind of behavior? And
Yeah.
also, if you think this is more relevant in some product categories.
Mhm. Yeah. So 18 to 35-year-old women, especially, we see the highest adoption rate for them. They're in group chats with more friends.
They're
And
indecisive.
yeah, they're indecisive, and they shop more. Even some of the men's clothing brands that we have partnered with, they've been like surprised to find, and some of them not as surprised, that the majority of people that are on their site are actually women. So
Woman shop,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, my wife buys all my clothes. Like
Mhm.
my most recent experience, I went to the mall with my wife and she picked out my clothes because I care what she thinks and she's got better style than me. And it's so that to answer your question, 18 to 35-year-old women, they're just like that sweet spot of, buying potential. They have like, especially like once you start to get to like, 30, 35, you may have more discretionary income. You're in your group chats with your friends, but we also see, to be fair to the older generation, I think they don't get enough credit for being tech savvy and they still use our product. Some of the brands that we work with, let's say it's like luxury resort wear or luxury like handbags or jewelry. They get a bit of an older demographic, and we still see great results there. But yeah, that kind of lends itself to like what like type of brands and like categories of Shopify brands that work well for our app. We see the most success for like women's fashion, especially. You think like dresses or like things that maybe people would want to wear for like bridesmaid or wedding, because they're obviously going to be talking to their bridesmaids and their friends. Jewelry. You think about like anything for like gifts, because you're going to ask like your friends like, hey, which of these gifts should I get for my friend? You're even like splitting it and kind of going in on that gift together. Sunglasses, swimwear, honestly, like clothing especially, and even things like clothing that you wouldn't even expect, like things like socks, leggings, underwear do pretty well. But yeah, I'd say it's basically like, think about like, where are these 18 to 35-year-old women shopping, and they're probably a really good category for shop with friends.
Yeah, definitely. One advice that I would give merchants as well before we um, go off, so is that you should talk to your customers, find out about them, understand their behavior, which wouldn't might not be as obvious and as straightforward as watching app and watching some recording on Clarity, for example. So it might not be as straightforward. Finding that it's not easier, it's easier said than done, obviously, and it might not be as simple, but it could be very crucial. And once you do that, you will be, because I feel starting an e-commerce store these days is very easy. Everyone is doing it. With Shopify, you can just start an e-commerce store in a day. So everyone is doing it. There's so much competition out there. So one way you can stand out and you can do well is by innovating, and is by making the experience better than your competitors. So that's one opportunity out there for everyone.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think the brands that know their customers the best are going to win. That's just, it's pretty simple. And so the
Yeah.
more that you can tailor your online experience, your customer journey, to the way that your customers actually shop, the better your results are going to be in terms of, conversion rates, traffic, repeat customers, all those things. Because if people like to shop on your site, they're going to buy things and they're going to come back and buy more.
Yeah. So any last advice you want to give to our listeners before?
I think that's honestly, I don't think that I could give any advice that's better than talk to your customers, know your customers, and innovate to make your customers' experience better. I think that's the advice I'd prefer just to leave it with.
Right. Okay. So where can listeners find you and follow you, learn more about your work?
So you can obviously check us out at shopwithfriends.ai. You can search for us on the Shopify App Store. Shop with friends, and you can follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me on Slack.
Okay, cool. This has been incredibly insightful. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.